News Talk 1280 KIT, Washington State Legislature, up and at 'em, doing their thing. 60 days, 58 after today? And every Tuesday, we try to have a conversation with someone from Olympia, usually one of our area lawmakers. But today, sort of a 30,000-foot level, I guess, right, Lance?
Yeah, that's right. We have on the phone with us this morning, Dave, House Minority Leader JT Wilcox. Good morning, Mr. Wilcox.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me on.
Our pleasure. Good to talk to you. We've got all kinds of questions about what can truly be accomplished if you just look at the numbers. So when you look at the numbers, do you head off to work with a smile on your face or with a grim resolve? Which is it?
Well, I think a combination of both. I like my job. I've been in tough businesses all my life, all of them farming and food processing related. And I work with some highly qualified, very determined people, especially the ones that come from your area. And whether or not we think it's tough doesn't mean that people don't expect us to work hard and do our best.
Well, it does sound like a farmer talking. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So as you guys look ahead, and things like, is there going to be any kind of tax relief for a state that seems to be rolling in the dough? Is there going to be any trim back of the powers of the governor, given 2 years worth of executive powers? How do you chop that up? And it's the old eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. How do you go about those kind of things?
Well, I think first, talking about the emergency powers of the governor, I was not very optimistic a few weeks ago, but I'm becoming a little bit more so now. In the week leading up to a session, I go head-to-head with the Speaker of the House 4 times in 3 days. And, we're asked mostly similar questions at various press and other kinds of forums. And it's interesting to watch how people evolve. And we all evolve a little bit after we hear the arguments of the other side. And the Speaker of the House over those 3 days went from defending this top-down model, she calls it a command center structure, to saying that maybe we had an awful lot in common when it comes to our thinking about emergency powers. And the Republican point of view on this has really been led by a lot of people, but recently by your own representative, Chris Corey. And Chris dropped a bill that is absolutely reasonable. In fact, I keep telling people this is the emergency powers reform bill that I would want if I was the Speaker of the House and we had a Republican governor. It doesn't say that there can't be emergency powers. I think it's reasonable to have emergency powers, but after 60 days, in every single case, they should be reviewed by the legislature.
Yes.
People should be responsible if you're elected to say, this is an emergency, Governor, go ahead, or no, it's not, Governor, you're done.
What are your fellow lawmakers saying about that proposal? I mean, have you heard anything about that from your Democratic colleagues?
Well, first, there's 41 Republican votes for it. Second, the number 2 on the bill, the first co-sponsor, is a Democrat from the Olympic Peninsula. And in a letter that I sent to the Speaker of the House last week, I named the 7 Democratic legislators that over the last year have publicly said that they want to see emergency power reforms. And so if they're going to live up to their statement, they can either vote for this or they can offer amendments to make it somehow more acceptable to them. And we are going to make sure that they get on the record as well. We can't force a vote on the bill. That's up to the majority to bring up. But we can offer parliamentary motions in both committee and on the floor that give everyone a chance to vote on whether or not they want to bring the bill to the floor. And that's a pretty good surrogate, and people are going to have to stand up and be counted this time.
Yes. Yes, fight for us. I keep saying fight for us. And I think another big issue, especially around here, we've lost, a lot of police officers through this police reform. We've had some some that have just left to early retirements. We're down 19 on our force, and I suppose it's probably been felt like that across the state. Police reform laws. Do you see any movement, or is that just stuck in the mud with the Democrats just not moving at all on police reform?
Yes, they are moving, and they've gone in the course of about the last 10 months from rejecting the Republican amendments that would have addressed all the problems that they acknowledge they have now to committing to deal with probably three problem areas that have caused, I think, the most controversy. And they're moving because they went back home and their own local governments told them that what they had enacted was a mistake and in some cases disastrous and tragic. And to me, the tragic part of this is people have paid a big price, and some families have paid the ultimate price. And at the same time, we had Republican amendments that were rejected that would have addressed every one of these. And our job now is to make sure that what the majority does, the Democrats, is not just window dressing, but it's actually addressing these problems. Now, that's only part of the issue with your police. I think, the reforms with air quotes around them that were passed
and
were
the
disheartening
mandates
because they created so much turmoil. But at the same time, this idea that you should be demonizing the people that stand up for the regular citizen has also been deeply demoralizing as well. And you can't change that overnight. We just have to support them.
KIT News Time is 7:53. We're talking to the House Minority Leader, Mr. JT Wilcox, about the legislative session that started at noon yesterday.
If you guys had a few more seats and were able to bring stuff forward, what's the sort of unspoken, unheralded Republican agenda for Washington? I mean, I know so much of your time is spent in trying to prevent stuff. As opposed to being able to offer up stuff. What would you like to see happen in our state from a Republican point of view?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because it's critical for all of our future that we not just be folks that say no, although a lot of times that's critical, but we also have to have good alternative ideas. So let me just go through a few of those. First of all, we are absolutely against the long-term health care tax, and we want to repeal that, but at the same time, Representative Drew Stokesbury has dropped a bill that would create an alternate system that would be affordable and would be widely accessible for people to insure for long-term health care costs. That is a big problem. It's just that the Democrats are determined to stick with a program that is clearly unsustainable. We also think that the environment's important. And Representative Mary Dye from out in the Whitman County area has said, look, let's take these resources that are available and accomplish things that can be accomplished. These are not aspirational things where Washington State is a tiny percentage of the world problem. These are things that we can fix ourselves right here, like adding enough water treatment capacity, so that we can keep our rivers clean and we can have capacity for future economic development. And we can also bring salmon back. We should be accelerating our replacement of fish passage barriers. We have the resources to do that if we spend them on things that we can actually accomplish. And then I think another one that many people are going to be interested in is because we have this overflowing general fund in terms of resources, we can get rid of the reliance on future increases in the gas tax. We can do all the things that we need to do with transportation, including building new capacity by using our general revenue and rejecting the idea that we need to add additional gas taxes or miles traveled.
You know, we talked with Chris Cargill of the Washington Policy Center the other day, and he was talking about population growth and the fact that it's flattened out in our state, and some of the conclusions that they were reaching is that maybe people were a little, like California, fed up with too much liberalism and were choosing to vote with their feet. And is there any kind of concern among state Republicans for that sort of thing, that We are so overwhelmed that we're going to be chasing, some of our folks out of the state.
Well, I think anybody that has friends that are moving to places like Texas and Idaho, and sometimes that's because of the economic climate. Sometimes it's just a matter of freedom, or people are just aghast at what happens, in the chop zone in Seattle, for example, or more often what happens down here in Olympia. And we believe that people are hungering for balance, and it's this tiny, tiny fringe group that is driving Democratic legislators so far left. I don't believe that even reflects the individual members. But for some reason, as in Seattle, you find the most fringe groups wielding the most power.
Wow.
That's why balance is important for all of us.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I got to agree with you 100% on that.
Wow.
I just can't believe that rank and file average Americans, even of a different political philosophy, would be as far out as what seems to be driving the Democrat machine overall.
Couple of minutes left. I guess, quick thoughts on the closure of our passes and the DOT. Any talk over there about what's going on?
Well, yeah, in my previous life, I used to dispatch 100 trucks a day around the Northwest, and I can remember times when we spent 5 days trying to find a way to get refrigerated vans from east to west or west to east. So this is the first time I remember being the first company to deliver milk in eastern Washington, and we had to bring it around from Bend, believe it or not.
Wow.
But the fact that, at the most critical time, they made it impossible for many, skilled people involved in removing snow to stay on their job, and now they claim they didn't fire them. They just changed the requirements.
Yeah.
The DOT is saying that it didn't make an impact. I guess what my life and business tells me is that when you have a staffing crisis, it's not always the first crisis that creates the disaster. It's the second or third as you burn people out, as people get hurt, you just find everybody stretched. And so this is the first huge storm of the year. If we have any more, especially if they come quickly, I think we're going to likely see more problems.
Yeah.
And it's important that the legislature really make the executive agencies that work for the governor detail what their plans are, so we all know, how we can accommodate what we're going to see on our roads.
Mr. JT Wilcox, a wonderful interview. We appreciate your time today, and have a great day. We just wish you lots of success in the future.
Big job ahead. Best.
Yep.
Good luck, and maybe we get to talk to you again down the road.
Yep.
Thanks very much.